All right, we should be good to go.
All right, my name is Darius Shanfar. I am chair of the City of Albany's IDA Finance Committee. I'm calling this meeting to order today at 12:20-ish. I believe all members of the IDA are here today, which includes the members of the Finance Committee. So the first order of business, as always, is I call for a motion to waive the reading of the minutes, which have been previously distributed, and accept them as presented.
So moved.
Susan? Lee? Is there any additions, deletions, corrections? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are passed. Today, we do not have a financial report, so we will move straight into new business. The first of which is 391 Myrtle, which is a project that the IDA had approved a few years back. The AMC is the owner of the property, and they're looking to come in with an amendment to the original pilot agreement to more properly reflect the usage of the facility today. So I don't know, Sarah or Andy, you want to take us through it?
I can run through a summary of what we have in front of us today.
Thank you.
As background, in 2014, the City of Albany IDA approved the AMC Medical Office Building project located at 391 Myrtle Ave. The project involved a pilot agreement relating to the privately leased portions of the building, as well as tax exempt and taxable bond issuances to finance the building's construction, which were concurrently approved through the city's CRC. Because AMC anticipated having both private and tax exempt uses in the building fluctuating over time, the pilot agreement laid out two scenarios for calculating those payments, which were generally based on the percentage of the private occupancy in the building. Per the pilot agreement, the project was required to submit tenant affidavits annually certifying the building's square footage to determine which of the two scenarios would be utilized. Over time, however, as the percentages of private occupancy shifted, the formula became increasingly difficult to administer on an annual basis. This has resulted in significantly more square footage of the building being taken up by Albany Med space versus private occupancy than was originally anticipated. Further, in 2019, the City of Albany CRC approved the reallocation of the tax exempt and taxable bonds to align with the actual allocation of the hospital and private tenant use of the facility. The current request in front of the agency involves an amendment to the pilot agreement to A, reduce the amount of square footage subject to the pilot agreement, and B, provide that scenario 2, that pilot structure to be in effect for the remainder of the pilot term. This amendment is going to align the pilot agreement with the reality of the hospital and private tenant use of the facility, and also serves to reconcile the pilot agreement allocation with the current CRC bond allocation. And I will note that Phyllis Hathaway from Albany Med is here as well to answer any questions.
I'd add to that, Andy, that the Finance Committee did review this at last month's meeting where we walked through both the financial and legal implications of the requested amendment. And we've also had follow-up discussions related to questions that the committee had at that time. So as Andy mentioned, Phyllis is here for any questions, and happy to take any questions of the committee.
Sarah, could you just run through what the original expectations were for this pilot and how it's produced revenue for the taxing jurisdiction?
Sure, I can pull that out. The original projections that we had walked through, we can go into the financial history of the transaction in more detail, but sort of the broad strokes at this point. The total pilot payments made to date are over $2 million to the taxing jurisdictions. We expect, with the amended terms requested, that the project will pay at or above the originally projected payments to each of the taxing jurisdictions. So this amendment is not projected to result in a decrease in payments across taxing jurisdictions. The project has also continued to perform on all other requirements related to the pilot agreement originally made.
Terrific. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay. I think we've gone through this, and I think that there is a pretty clear that a contract basically has to reflect the reality, and that that there is to some extent an entitlement of AMC to what is being requested here. And so therefore I would call for a motion for positive recommendation to the IDA as a whole to amend the pilot as presented.
So moved.
Susan, Lee?
I can second that.
All right, terrific. Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Terrific. All right, thank you. On to the next order of business. 7:30.
We do have 733 Broadway is up next.
733 Broadway. Yeah, sorry, I accidentally muted myself there. I think Andy, maybe you want to take us through this one as well. Essentially, what we have is a request. It's a pilot transfer request for the sale of the property of 733 Broadway.
That's correct. Thank you, Chair. Some background on this project. In 2014, North Star Development undertook approximately $5.1 million conversion of a mostly vacant 48,000 square foot building into 29 residential units and 2 commercial retail spaces totaling approximately 2,200 square feet. Currently, the commercial spaces contain a law firm in one space on the Broadway facing side, and the other space houses North Star's offices. As it has been relayed to agency staff, North Star is shifting its focus out of the immediate Albany area, and as a result has placed this property up for sale. I will note that the project applicant and the potential purchaser, Gray Hill, is with us here today, both Bob Ryan representing and Mo as well, to answer any questions.
Adding to that, Chair, just a couple of quick points. We do anticipate we are getting into the timeline now where particularly multifamily projects, we will start to see property transfers coming through the agency. Typically, as in the normal course of a multifamily real estate transaction, we did anticipate sales happening between typically years 5 and 10 of the project term, and so that had been factored into our financial analysis at the outset of any given pilot. This one did apply and was approved prior to our project evaluation and assistance framework that had that standardized review. So we're very happy to go into an executive session at your discretion to talk through the financial history of an organization, to walk through some of the specifics for this particular project as it was approved prior to our standardized process for this. This is something that we will start to see. I will say that we have done, of note, any transfer of a pilot does have to come back before the agency for its review and approval. That is baked right into our agreements. And so that's why the request is in front of you today. The review at the staff level does include a review of the financials of both the existing owner as well as the projected buyer for the property to determine the returns anticipated from the transaction to ensure that they are in line with standard return levels that we assess here through the agency on every project. So staff has completed that review to date. We've gone back and forth with the applicant to understand their transaction. And again, we do have representatives of the applicant here today that can talk through a little bit of their current activity as well as their interest in the property. Oh, Darius, you're muted.
Oh yeah, that. I would note, as you mentioned, Sarah, that this the pilot for this property. Well, this one was thankfully one of the initial projects that started to bring into the city of Albany apartment, redevelopment of old buildings for apartment living, which was, I think we've seen clearly an untapped market in the city of Albany. That being said, because of that, I think the terms of this pilot are not terms that really would not be available to a new applicant today, except under some very unusual circumstances. So I think I think for me, I don't know if anybody else wants to hear anything from the applicants. I think I have a pretty good sense of what is being requested here. If not, I would be happy to go into an executive session to talk about some of the legal implications and the financial implications that are not appropriate for open discussion. Susan or Lee or Bob or anybody? Tony?
I would move to go into executive session
All right,
for the purposes of reviewing legal documents.
thank you.
I believe it would
Lee?
actually be for to review the financial history of an organization.
Terrific.
I can second that motion.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, so I'll give you a moment.
And that's at 12.
Are we back?
We are back.
All right. So we came out of executive session on Susan's motion at 128, Lee seconded. We had a discussion on some of the financial implications of what's been proposed. No action was taken, and some of the legal implications as well. No action was taken by the board, but what we are going to do, I think, is ask staff to do some further analysis on this for our edification. And so we'll take no action today, but expect to take some action within the next month or so at our next meeting. Anything to add?
Great. And at the committee's direction, we are going to look for third-party financial analysis for this, particularly given that this pilot was agreed to prior to the project evaluation and assistance framework being put in place. And so that third-party analysis will help us really create parity between the analysis done today versus the analysis done in 2014.
Terrific. All right. Thank you. Next order of business, finally. What do we have, Sarah?
We have our annual suite of professional service agreements getting us into 2022. It is December.
Yeah.
I can't believe it this year. So we have
the standard
we
agreement.
have no change. There are standard agreements. There are no significant changes across the board. So I'm just going to read off the agreements in front of you today, and we can take them in order. We are, because it is already 1:30. If you have questions, Tom can get you through some of the particulars of each of them. And I'll note right off the bat that there are two agreements that have to do with Capitalize Albany Corporation within this stack. So staff, if you would like us to leave the room, we're happy to do that. We offer that every year. Would also, Tony, just remind you that you'd be abstaining from the votes on those agreements as we get through them. But the agreements in front of you today are general counsel legal services with the City of Albany. We have bond and special counsel legal services with Hodgson Russ. We have a professional service agreement. That's the three-party agreement between the IDA, CRC, and Capitalize Albany Corporation. We have a contract for services for economic development services with Capitalize Albany Corporation. And then we have a contract for services between the IDA and CRC that essentially sets a cap on the transfer of CRC funds related to those two organizations. And so that is our annual suite that gets you through management of the organization for 2022. And Darius, we would take those, I believe, individually in order. And if you've got any questions, happy to fill in details on those.
Excuse me,
Does anybody have-
Chair, just to jump in, I'm more than happy to step out if you want me to step out in connection with any discussion on our contract.
Does anybody have any discussion or questions on the agreements? They're essentially what we already have in place, and I have no issues with any of it. It's kind of going the way we've gone.
We're gonna give Joe a hard time. I want him to stay though. Okay.
Perfect. I do like to note every year, particularly on the legal services contracts, that there is significant benefit from a staff perspective in having institutional knowledge with both the city and Hodgson Russ. Their service has been excellent from a staff perspective throughout, and being able to have groups that are so familiar with our operations and the history of these deals is invaluable. And so based on that, staff is very happy to be recommending both of those today. Oh, Darius, you're muted again.
First agreement is
Legal Services General Counsel.
right. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Lee, second. Susan,
Yep.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Next agreement
On Special Counsel.
on special counsel. Can I have a motion?
So
Motion.
moved.
Lee,
Or second.
Second. Whatever.
all in favor?
Aye.
Third contract.
The three-party professional services agreement, IDA, CRC, Capitalize Albany Corporation.
Okay. Motion Lee, second Susan. All those in favor?
Aye.
And Tony's abstaining?
Thank you.
Okay, terrific. Next contract.
It's the contract for economic development services with Capitalize Albany Corporation.
Capitalize Albany, terrific. Lee motion, Susan second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anthony abstains again.
Correct.
All right,
Great.
last one.
The contract for services between the IDA and CRC.
All right, motion, Susan, second, Lee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I think that's it, correct?
That does it. That does it. We're on
All
to
right.
financing guideline review.
Okay, materials have been previously provided to everybody. Does anybody have any questions? All right, anything you want to add here, Sarah, for the record, for the
Nope.
public?
No changes, just required to do it annually, and we've done it.
All right, no motion needed.
No motion needed.
I'm getting emotional. Sorry, I'm sorry. I had
It's been a long meeting. Couldn't help it. Well, if you liked that, then the finance committee self-evaluation, we could get really deep on that, but it is just the list of things that we've done over the past year as a finance committee. So that's in front of you as
Fine.
well.
Go ahead.
No,
It's a
no
fine list. It's in the
action.
material.
It is.
Anybody have any questions, comments? I think we did a pretty good job this year.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think the amount of analysis that the staff goes into on a case-by-case basis is incredible, and kudos to everyone. You know, I can't believe how long I've been doing this, and it's only gotten better and better. So thank you to everybody. And the board as well, as we've, you know, grown and, you know, changed over the years, and I think it's all for the good. So excellent.
Ditto. All right, next order of business.
So Darius, we have Capitalize Albany Corporation, the Liberty Park acquisition assistance that staff would recuse ourselves for, Tony as well for that. I could do
I will
a
too.
quick agency. Oh, sorry, Susan, as well. Well, we have to come back for CRC anyway, so we can just duck out. We'll come back for agency update and compliance update on the agenda, unless you'd like to switch things up.
Why don't we switch it up right now? We'll do Liberty Park last and then go back to AC.
Perfect. So quickly under agency update, we did have our 2 new members confirmed by the council on Monday night. So we have Elizabeth Staubach and Joseph Better, who will be joining us. We've already gotten out. I know, Susan, you've spoken with them. I've sent them a whole stack of materials already to do some homework. Tony's smiling because he's fresh off of that stack of materials from last year and still smarting from it. So really excited to have them joining. They'll be executing their oaths over the next 30 days at maximum. We expect them this week, and so we actually expect them to be voting members of the board by the board meeting next week, but we'll stay tuned for that. I'd also note that the New York State Economic Development Council is hosting their annual conference in mid-January. We have an opportunity to sponsor that, similar to how we've done in years past. So we'll move forward with that, and that'll be an opportunity for board members as well as staff to be updated on current practices and anything new coming down the pike. So there is that. And then also, if you saw the news today, 25 Erie, the Huck Finns project was in the Business Review News Blast this afternoon. They did receive their planning approval, so we expect them to be on the full board meeting next week as well. Quick compliance update. The team is already starting the annual review of projects for Paris for next year, for this past year's activity. So that is well underway already, and that starts that 4-month process of getting all of those documents in. We'll be keeping you updated along that. I think that's it for agency and compliance update, unless you guys have anything great. So we can do that and then step out for the rest of your new business.
Sarah, can I ask when we do have articles like that in the business review, if they could be sent out to all of the board members, especially with the new board members?
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
So we'll move on to the next topic, and you guys can head on up a few moments.
Yeah, if someone can open a waiting room that we can go into. And I'll note that at 1:39, we recused ourselves.
Almost there. Are we all set? No.
We're still on YouTube, so wait, please. And we're still
Yeah.
recording. Although,
Which is fine.
yeah, I'm sorry, duh, yep.
You're all set to move into public discussion of Liberty Park. Let us know when it's time for executive session.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
Do we have everybody? Just me and Lee and Bob.
And Joe Scott.
Yeah. All right. So do we have an update that's relevant for here for public discussion, or is there legal matters that we have to go to executive session?
No, I would suggest that we go into executive session, Chair, to get the advice of counsel. And actually, the proper terminology is exempt session, to go into exempt session for receiving the advice of counsel.
All right. I'll make the motion. Lee, second.
Second.
All those in favor? Yes. Aye.
151.
Okay, so are we back on?
We are.
All right, so no action was taken. We came out of executive session on my motion, Lee second at 1:50. Again, no action was taken, but a memo will be presented from council to the board next week. Anything else that I left out, Joe?
No, that's correct, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Well, in that case, since we're long in the tooth of this meeting, is there anything else? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Lee, second. All those in favor? Aye. I'm not
Aye.
taking any discussion on this one. All right. on
Only
to-
3 more meetings left.
Only 3. On to CAC. Do we need to wait for anything?
Do we need to switch the recording? Stop and start.
I was gonna say there's
Oh,
a
Tom,
30
you're
minute commit.
muted.
Yeah, let's just wait till this is off. It's still